So when you're planting your grow bed for the first time, you have several different options. And most folks are going to have seed on hand, so you'll just start with a packet of seed. And right here I've got a packet of upland cress seed that I'm going to show you how to plant. Planting this stuff is very easy. Unlike soil gardening where you have to, essentially put it beneath the soil surface, when you're using granite like this, you can essentially just sprinkle the seed over the surface of the granite, and it will kind of work its way down into the cracks, and those seeds will basically land and kind of just land in a spot where it's nice and moist, and they'll get stuck down in there and they'll germinate, and then you can come in later and essentially thin them out. So you'll almost always have more than you need initially. And you can go back through and you take out the weaker looking ones or the smaller looking ones and just kind of leave the bigger, healthier seedlings. The other option you have is to use a plug. So these are plugs that you get from the store. And I will say regarding both plugs and both seed is you want to make sure you're not introducing any weird chemicals to your system. So when you get your seed, make sure it's not treated. Make sure it's untreated seed. Treated seed has fungicides and other things on it that you don't necessarily want in your system. It's not to say it's going to hurt your system in a major way, but it is to say you want to be thoughtful about not introducing fungicides to your system without a good reason. So if you're using plugs, you can just get them at your local nursery or something like that. Now we grow mostly our own, and today we're going to be working with red Russian kale, or communist kale as I like to put it. Our commie kale is going to go in plugs just like this. You can dig them out, and essentially you end up with your seedling and a little root ball. Okay, so this is what we're going to transplant in this media, and going with plugs gives you just a little bit more time. It speeds things up just a little bit because these seedlings are fairly well developed. Now with plugs, you're actually going to take the plug and drop it in the granite, just like that, okay? And just like soil, then you're going to kind of cover it up, cover around it and support it. And you want to go with the spacing that's recommended on the seed packet. Now your rows aren't going to be necessarily 12 inches apart or 24 inches apart, so sometimes you can go with basically you take the row spacing and you just apply it on either side as well. So for this particular crop, we're going to be cutting it a little bit younger. I'm going to space these about 6 inches apart. And if they look kind of sad when they go in, don't worry too much. They almost always bounce back. They're pretty tough. A lot of folks tend to get pretty worried about their crops when they put them in and they see a little bit of wilting at first or something like that. The reality is that moving plugs like this damages the root structure pretty significantly. So we just basically need to keep that in mind, that that root structure is being damaged, and there's not a whole lot we can do about it besides just kind of being gentle with our plugs. But it will recover, and those roots will grow back in no time flat, and we'll end up with nice, big, healthy plants. So that's just something to keep in mind as you're planting. Don't get too worried about what the plants are looking like, if they're looking kind of sad. So we're going to do this, and then we're going to take some photos over time to show you how these different seedlings grow, whether they're our plugs or whether they are our seed. And you'll get to see firsthand kind of this system grow up. So you can you have a point of reference to compare your system to after you build it. So long as it's in a pretty warm place, you're going to get pretty good growth in this system, way better than you usually do in garden systems or something like that. Primarily just because everything they need is right there. There's almost no water stress in these systems. They never experience water stress. They've got all the water they need. Nutrients are usually fairly abundant. Now, because we're starting this system from scratch, and because we haven't, it's not fully cycled at the moment, we're going to do a little bit on introducing fish here shortly. we might see a few nutrient deficiencies right off the bat. So some people like to overcome that kind of initial break-in nutrient deficiency issue by using something called either kelp meal or liquid seaweed. There's a whole bunch of different products out there, but it essentially will just introduce some micronutrients to the system and give them a little boost right off the bat and prevent micronutrient and some macronutrient deficiencies. So that'll just basically keep your plants nice and healthy right off the bat. And there's a little less lag time, so you get to be productive a little bit quicker, which is kind of nice. So I'm almost done here. I would encourage you, as you plant your systems, to plant the margins, plant the edges, use every last little available spot in your system for growing. Because again, the goal here is to just produce as much as possible with as little amount of space use.